Every day we have is a gift. Each day I strive to be joyful and happy. Let's appreciate every moment. Let's find happiness together and make it a daily practice. My hopes are to use my education, personal awareness, and network to empower, engage, and motivate you and me to live a happier life as we turn the page to our next chapter. This is where I enter.
On today's episode, Dr. Reeves is joined by Terrell Bilbo, Carol Paris Ellis, and you'll enjoy our travel vlog highlighting Auburn, New York, and Ames, Texas. But first, take a look at your viewer feedback and stay tuned for the next chapter with Dr. Reeves.
I wanted to say thank you to Dr. Reeves for the episode of Healing and Money with Mr. Terrell Bilbo. I found it to be very educational and also introspective. I know that I definitely have a lot of work to do. I want to say thank you, Dr. Reeves. I am definitely looking forward to continued episodes of Next Chapter with Dr. Reeves.
We visited the Harriet Tubman National Historical Park, a sprawling 23-acre homestead found in Cayuga County, Auburn, New York. The site of the Harriet Tubman home is charged to communicate Harriet's legacy, her perseverance, and core values through guided property tours.
This was one of 9 other buildings that were on this property back then. This is the only one that survived. When Harriet Tubman purchased this property in 1896, she started moving people out of her personal home, where she had been housing people before, into the other buildings that were on this side of the property. Again, this is the only one that survived. This here is a picture of the way this house you're standing in. This is the way this looked in the early 40s, after it had been stripped by people in the 30s. The house was restored in 1952 by the AME Zion Church, and we've had tours going on here since 1953. Most of the furniture in the house is period furniture placed in the house to give the house a lived-in look. And the reason for that is because her house across the field being sold by relatives, whatever furniture was in that house when the relatives sold it was probably taken by those relatives. Whatever furniture was left in this building and the other buildings on this side of the property was probably taken by the last residents that were here and or the matrons who were the hired staff back then. The furniture in the bedroom is said to have been used by Harriet Tubman. It was given to us by her brother and his family. They say that on occasion Harriet would stay at her brother's house, and this was the furniture in the bedroom where she stayed, and also the bed on which she slept. They also gave us a sewing machine that you'll see in the other room as a memorial to her life. There's a Bible on the stand in there. That Bible is said to belong to Harriet. And it has the date of 1896 in it. Other than that, there are no other markings in the Bible, because as you may or may not know, Harriet Tubman did not read or write. But they say she had such a good mind that when people would read things to her, she was able to memorize most things and use them to her advantage. She had relatives who had a family reunion here a few years ago. Had to be about 250, maybe 300 of her relatives here then. Some of them approached me and they said, "Hey, Rev, we believe Harriet Tubman could read and write." She just didn't tell anybody. So now the relatives have this whole new story out there about Harriet Tubman reading and writing.
I've just finished taking my tour of the Harriet Tubman's home here in Auburn, New York, and I had the honor and the privilege to talk to Mr. Carter. He is the site manager here at the Harriet Tubman home and property located at 180 South Avenue, Auburn, New York. So today is December 28th, 2024, and it's an honor for me to be here. I had a couple little moments during the tour trying to understand Harriet Tubman's life, her struggles, and her challenges, but she was a straight soldier all the way through. I just commend her, and we are in honor and in awe of the commitment that she gave not only to her family, but the gift that she gave to African Americans here in the United States. So, Mr. Carter, I don't want to talk too much. I want to give you an opportunity to say a few words. But one of the questions I have is to ask you, why is it important to preserve Harriet Tubman's legacy first and foremost in a time such as this, and some of the things that are going on in the world, and definitely some of the attacks that we've had on our culture and our history as African Americans here in the United States? Can you speak to that a little bit, Mr.?
Yeah, I think it's important for us to preserve the history of Harriet Tubman because she was a fighter, a freedom fighter long before freedom fighters were well known. And so we have to keep her legacy alive, not just for ourselves, but for the upcoming generations. Because as you heard me mention in the tour, that if we don't keep our history alive, then they'll change the history. And then if they change the history, then it no longer becomes our history, but it becomes their history told the way they want it to be told. And we have so many instances now where young people in school don't know anything about Harriet Tubman or any of those others who gave their life for us. And Harriet Tubman was a woman who put her life on the line for so many people. She didn't have to go back not one time, but she chose, after she escaped, she chose to go back, get her family, her friends, anyone else who was ready to make that journey. And she did it, in a manner that put her own life in danger. You know, at any point she could have been captured. At any point she could have been taken away. But because she had a love for her family and her friends, and she wanted to taste that thing called freedom. And once she had freedom and knew what it was all about, she wanted to make sure that her family was also able to experience it. So it's important for us to keep that alive today, because we are being attacked on every side by the society in which we live in now. And if we don't continue to protect ourselves, then we have no one to blame but ourselves.
During the tour, it was a couple of points I got a little emotional. One in particular, when she got hit when she was 13, I think.
Approximately 12 or 13 years old.
She got hit by the weight, and you let us hold the weight, and the weight was so heavy.
Well, this is the part of the story many people remember. When she was in her preteen years, she was given a task to go down to the Bucktown store with the cook to pick up some supplies. Well, this day, she was just not feeling it. Well, they say before she walked out, she saw a shoulder shawl hanging up. She grabbed the shoulder shawl, put it on her head, tied it up. That way she would look decent when she got down to the store. Only to find out that an enslaved man from another plantation had been cornered in that building by the overseers. And they were trying to tie him up so they could take him back to the plantation. Well, they were not having very much success with that. Minty happened to walk in while that was going on. And when she walked in, the overseer commanded that she help him tie this man up so they could take him back to the plantation. Hey, you girl, come over and give us a hand with this man so we can take him back down yonder where it belongs. Well, she didn't want to, because she believed that everyone had a right to be free. So she was kind of hesitating. And while she was hesitating, the enslaved man jumped up, ran for the door. Overseer picked up a 2-pound metal weight from one of those scales, threw it at the man. It missed the man. But it hit Minty in the head with such an impact that it actually cut off a small piece of the shawl she was wearing and embedded this in her skull. Knocked her out. Well, she was in a semi-coma for a couple of days, and after coming out of that coma with very little medical attention, they just put her right back out into the field to work. She said it was very difficult for her to do her work after that incident, and I believe it was because all she could see was red. What do you mean? Was she mad? Was she angry because somebody hit her? Nope, she said after that incident, when she would be working out in the field, that hot sun would cause that scar to pop back open. Now they call it temporal lobe epilepsy, which simply meant that from time to time she'd be going about doing her chores, trying to get her work done. All of a sudden she'd pass out. Some say she'd be out for 5 minutes to an hour. Others have said that if she was talking to you before that happened, she'd just wake back up, finish the conversation like nothing had ever happened. But she had that for the most of her life, though she did have an operation when she was in her 70s to get rid of some of the pain and pressure. She was walking the streets of Boston. She saw this building. Found out the building was Boston General Hospital. When she went into this hospital, started talking to this man, found out the man was a doctor. She asked the doctor if there was anything he could do to help with the pain and suffering she was having from that childhood incident. Well, the doctor told her there was something he could do for her, but she would have to have an operation. So after giving some thought, she decided she'd have the operation. The story goes like this. After she made that decision, the doctor brought her into his office, laid her down on this table. He was preparing to give her some medication for the pain so she wouldn't have to suffer during the surgery. Well, she told the doctor that she did not want any medication for the pain. She wanted to take it the same way the troops did when she was down in the South. So the story is the doctor laid her on this table, gave her a bullet to bite on. She said, after he gave me that bullet, he started to saw through my scalp, pulled back a piece of bone. After that, I felt all right.
You don't think about much until you actually hold it in your hand. And then when you hold it in your hand, you say, this is solid. And she was hitting the head with that 2-pound weight, and it created an issue where she had an injury with the temporal lobe. And from that point on, she started having blackout spells. And it was in those moments when she had those blackout spells that she felt as though she was being spoken to by the Spirit of God, that he was leading her and guiding her to the different places she needed to go. And many people believe that that's why she was never captured, because she had that divine intervention to keep her life going.
And also, thinking back to the incident and being able to come back, you said 13 times.
Approximately, yes.
Approximately 13 times to leave and come back, leave and come back, leave and come back. She was just phenomenal. And what I didn't know, Harriet Tubman was only 4'11".
Yep.
She was tough.
Yeah, she was a little small lady, but she was a powerhouse.
Tubman was closely watching the politics of the moment. In January 1863, when Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation, she knew it would not be enough. She'd already concluded that the South would never be talked out of slavery. The only way to end it would be war.
The Emancipation Proclamation only granted freedom to those enslaved people who lived in states that had seceded from the Union. But for states like Maryland, Delaware, states that were called border states, that still had slavery, but had not joined up with the Confederacy, Lincoln understood that he could not place the Emancipation Proclamation onto these border states. If he did, they would more than almost certainly jump to the Confederate side. So he strategically left these border states to hold on to their slaves while the war raged.
By the time of Lincoln's proclamation, Tubman was already engaged in the war effort, lecturing, nursing wounded soldiers, and encouraging Black men to aid in the cause. But she wanted to do more.
During those lecture circuits throughout New England, she had met the governor of Massachusetts, John Andrew. And when the war started, he immediately thought of Tubman and that she needed to go into the South and help the United States Army. So he made arrangements for her to go to South Carolina.
At first, Tubman spent her time nursing black soldiers and providing for the droves of ex-slaves fleeing southern plantations for Union territory. Then she became a spy. Using knowledge gained from the newly free people, Tubman recruited and led a team of 8 black scouts, gathering critical intelligence for the Union Army.
With all of that interaction with formerly enslaved people, she was able to get the lay of the land and get specific information about where the Confederate Army was stationed, what kinds of weapons that they had. She was gathering intelligence, and she would share that with these Union officers.
In June of 1863, General Tubman, as John Brown called her, set into motion one of the most daring and successful raids of the war. Northern and Southern newspapers related breathless accounts of Colonel Montgomery's campaign on the Combahee River in South Carolina, led by Harriet Tubman.
Colonel Montgomery and his gallant band of 300 black soldiers, under the guidance of a black woman, dashed into the enemy's country, struck a bold and effective blow, brought off nearly 800 slaves and thousands of dollars worth of property without losing a man or receiving a scratch. It was a glorious consummation.
Well, the war is over. Harriet's on her way home. But at some point, the military gives her this special pass so she can ride on the trains for half fare. Well, this pass also allows her to sit anywhere on the train she wants to, including the luxury car, which was unheard of for black people back then, because blacks normally rode in the smoking car or the baggage car. So here she is, minding her business, and this conductor approached her, who I think had some racial issues. He approached her, about, woman, get up out this here car. You know your kind ain't supposed to be sitting in this luxury car. You just get up from here and make your way on over to that smoking car where all your kind of people belong. Now get up and get out of here, go. My interpretation. Harriet was not having it. And you have to understand that Harriet is every bit of 4 feet, 11 inches tall. But they say she was as strong as most men because of the kind of work she had done on the plantain. He struggled and struggled trying to pull her out that seat. Harriet was not moving. So he gets so upset, he calls over a couple of his conductor buddies to help him get this little old lady out of her seat. Well, the story is they were finally able to get her out of her seat, but in the process of doing that, they had to pry her hands off the seat rail because she was holding on so tightly. And in the process of doing that, they wrenched her arm and broke it. Cracked a couple of her ribs, cracked her collarbone, and threw her in the baggage car. And she had just finished serving her country as a nurse, a scout, and a spy.
Could you leave us what one thing that you hold dear to your heart about Harriet Tubman that you could share, or something that you hold very dear and near to your heart?
Well, one of the things that I hold very dear to my heart is that this was a woman who was willing to put it all on the line for other people. She was tenacious. She wouldn't give up no matter what. Through all the challenges that she went through with the head injury, being whipped as a small child, being almost killed on several occasions by her enslaver, by the way she was whipped and put out into the waters to catch muskrats in the middle of the wintertime, and all the struggle that she went through, even though she was being persecuted on every side, she would never give up. You know, she reminds me of a scripture that says, let us not become weary in well-doing, because in due season, we know we're going to reap the benefits. And somehow she knew that at the end, she was going to reap some benefits that was going to be beneficial, not for only for herself, but for the world at large. And here we are over 200 years later, still remembering her, this little lady who could not read, who some people say she was not worthy of all the things that she had. And I don't know if you know, but just for your viewers, if you don't know, Harriet was just, this Veterans Day was given, posthumously given the rank of a 1-star Brigadier General by the Department of Defense.
Excellent.
So she is now truly what we would call General Tubman, and it's long past due.
In a tent set up not far from where she was enslaved, next to a visitor center devoted to her legacy, full military pageantry this Veterans Day, as Harriet Tubman is posthumously commissioned as a brigadier general in the Maryland National Guard by Maryland Governor Wes Moore.
So today we celebrate the American Moses. Today we celebrate our modern prophet. Today we celebrate a soldier and a person who earned the title of veteran. Today we celebrate one of the greatest authors of the American story, Maryland's own General Harriet Tubman.
The action, 110 years after Tubman's death, authorized by a unanimous vote in the Maryland legislature. It honors Tubman's work not just as a conductor on the Underground Railroad, leading at least 70 people to freedom, but as a scout, a chef, and a nurse for the Union Army during the Civil War.
But just her tenacity and her bravery and her stick-to-itiveness, no matter what was going on, she had a plan, she had a purpose, and she was going to see it to the end.
Thank you, Mr. Carter, so much.
You're welcome. A pleasure having you with us. God bless you.
God bless you.
Be
Thank
strong.
you so much. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you for joining me in celebrating our 4'11" General, Harriet Tubman. Join me on Next Chapter with Dr. Reeves, a journey of healing and restoration. Put yourself first. Do things that make you happy.
Hi, my name is Carol Paris Ellis. I am a poet for Christ. I have written a book as my testimony unto the Lord, how he has blessed my life from a splintered way of living. It's inspirational, called Woman, I Feel You. Book has been published for some time now. You can get this book from Amazon. I'm working on my second book called Broken Pieces of a Black Pearl. And I just want to thank you for the time just to allow me to share a little bit of myself. God bless you and thank you again. Woman to woman, lose the lace. Forget the rumors and let's come face to face. You see, I think you're beautiful and I am beautiful too. Whatever affects you touches me. Is that not true? It's time we show some love and respect for one another as if I were your only sister and no other. We as women have to hold together fast because our bodies will die and then be in the past. The Lord has plans for each one of us. The spiritual life is what he entrusts. So let's get it together and support each other with genuine and dedicated love, because he, the Father, He's watching from heaven above. Amen? Amen. God bless you.
We visited Ames, Texas in Liberty County for the Easter Black Rodeo, a popular event that combines rodeo activities with cultural celebrations. It's known for its focus on showcasing the talents of Black cowboys and cowgirls and their contributions to the history of rodeo. The main event is typically held in conjunction with Easter festivities and often take place in various locations across the United States. Lots of great music, food, and celebration to highlight the pageantry of Black rodeo. Get out there and get some culture. We did.
Hi, I'm Nikki Chagua Allen. I'm a member of Our Mother of Mercy Catholic Church in Ames, Texas. 86 years ago, our grandfathers, great-grandfathers needed a way to get from one end of town to another. So they traveled by horseback. In those days, they had to travel 3 miles to the neighboring white churches. And so that was difficult. Then they started their own church. And from there, they went to their roots of farming and ranching and the horseback riding to have their get-togethers and their fundraising. So then they decided that Easter Sunday was the perfect time to get together with family and friends and showcase their skills. That Black cowboys and then later Black cowgirls were added. it. And so for 86 years, we've gotten together and we showcase our skills as Black cowboys and Black cowgirls. People from all over the country come. We just had someone who told us he was from Virginia and he came all the way down for this Easter rodeo. Not only does it call back family members that have been a part of these Creole and Black communities for over the years, over the generations, but it calls to cowboys of every color to come to a well-run rodeo and see what it's about here in Liberty, Texas and Ames, Texas.
Welcome back to Next Chapter with Dr. Reeves. I'm so excited that you're here. I hope all is well. Thank you all for taking this journey with me of healing and restoration. If you missed our previous episodes, check us out on nextchapterwithdrreeves.com. In our previous episode, we celebrated Black History Month. It was dynamic. We highlighted masterminds and makers, and we also traveled to Africa, Tennessee, and Connecticut. I invite you all to watch that episode either on our website or on our YouTube channel. Today, backed by popular demand, we have the money mastermind himself, Mr. Terrell Bilbo. So what are you feeling now? What's going on? What are you identifying now that's going on in the world that you knew for sure?
Well, so this is the thing. When we look at economics, most people look at it like from a reactionary standpoint, right? It's happening to you.
Mm-hmm.
But when you study data, then you can kind of tell, not so much tell the future. I can't say I don't have a crystal ball, but you see probability of things happening. And that's why I say when I look at things now, it's like it's from a totally different mindset. Like now that this new administration and I grow up and we're gonna be talking about women, so I'm surrounded by women in my family, and I see just a lot of fear right now. So it's like, but if we can kind of change our mind to kind of like that pragmatic thought process, then I think that you will see, man, we in the middle of a great opportunity.
And that's what I was gonna say. What makes you feel so confident that we're in a great opportunity right now, based on everything that's going on?
So one of the things is always, if you study history, right? They say history it doesn't repeat itself, but it sure does rhyme, right? So it's knowing those things and seeing them come back into fruition. It might not look exactly the same, and then also, like I said, knowing the rules to the game. Knowing that the Fed has to do a certain thing, knowing that interest rates have to be at a certain point, knowing that the debt has to be refinanced, all of those different things, and then like we're saying, when you look at cryptocurrency, SEC has been fighting forever, right? Now, Gary Gensler is gone. The president said this is going to be the thing, and now you see all of the misinformation coming out. That's to discourage us from getting in the game. To me, I already know the play now. So that lets me know even more. And then if you just look at numbers, like, money is money. You follow the numbers. The dollars say that all of these big institutions are coming into this space, and trillions of dollars are going to flow in. I don't have to be a genius to figure out that's probably where I need to be looking. So that's what makes me so confident right now, is because I'm reading the data. Again, I'm reading where BlackRock is investing. I'm reading where Vanguard, State Street, all of these people are putting their dollars. They got way more money than me. So who am I not to pay attention to that?
And also, what you said about fear, and I do believe that a lot of us are having fear, especially women, because, we're nurturers, we're trying to provide for our families, we're trying to understand some things for ourselves, where we're at financially, retirements, especially that's us that's 20, but, say my age, but where we're at right now, it could be scary. And I thought about some things too, I'm approaching early retirement. So what would you say to us many of us that are having that fear right now, and particularly women?
Well, again, it's about education. You know, the more you know about a subject, the less fearful you are. Most people fear the unknown. But if you get yourself educated, tapping in, listening to some of these reports, like I watch my mom. My mom's 75 years old. I love her to death. I love her to life. But we go back and forth because I see what she does on a daily basis. She watches the same news channel, the same news feed, the same sound bites, and it's a programming system. So you're being programmed with fear. So I would say you have to step back and find alternative information. And learn how to be neutral, right? Learn how to be super neutral. Don't go too much to the left, too much to the right. Stay in the middle so you can hear both sides and say, well, this makes the most sense to me. You know what I mean? And I think that's the best way we can go about it because they want you to be fearful.
They do.
They want you to be scared. So you miss out on the opportunity, and then you're gonna see it gonna switch like this. It's gonna be like, hey, this is the best thing since sliced bread. But they need you to be exit liquidity. So we have to be financially intelligent in these times because it's a huge game being played.
And I appreciate you saying that and being truthful about that because we're seeing so much fake news and a lot of people have just kind of caved in, you know, and accepted. So when you're looking at the news and we're trying to figure out finances and the digital currency as you kind of focus on, it's a lot to digest, Mr. Billboard. Can you give us some tips now that can improve our finances and the way we think about money moving into this new way of doing things?
Absolutely. I think everybody is the CEO of their life, right? And if you look at the country that you're in, like they say, when in Rome, do as the Romans. So the United States is a business. So everyone should operate like a business. So that's having an LLC. I think credit is probably one of the biggest things. And what I find too is that, especially with women, because women typically tend to take care of their business, right? So they have good credit scores, they pay their bills on time, they're doing all that. I got an 800 credit score. But you are not financially astute enough to understand how to leverage the credit, right? So I'm going to work, I'm working this job, but I thought about it. If you had money coming in, residual income, you bought a piece of property, you got 4 or 5 doors in your portfolio or whatever, you're making what you're making on your job, but you have, you know, disposable income. That's why we can't get ahead. As people, period, is because we don't have the disposable income. So when that opportunity does come about, I can't participate. This last whatever is going to cost me. So I think one of the tips that I think we should have is understanding the structure of your life, right? Your life is a business, so operate it like one. You should be operating out of a LLC or a trust. Like that's very important. You should, especially in this time when you talk about the AI and the computers coming to, you should have some kind of digital product. Everybody don't have to be a influencer or you know or whatever. They have so many things that you can do that's faceless, but you can sell a product on autopilot and make residual income. Right, so it's so many things out there that you can do, but you got to get active and start transforming into this new way of finance. Okay. Because if you're still looking at the old side, I mean that's already over.
So number 1, become your own business.
Become your own business.
Number 2,
structure. Get funding. Okay. Right, because what I see when I counsel and I consult my clients, what I see 90 to 95% of the time is most businesses are underfunded. It's capital, right? Because I was doing a lot of education, right? And you know, with the crypto, and I would say if you put your money into this can turn into $1,000 over here, turn into 10,000, whatever the case is, right? And I get the same thing. This is great information, Mr. Bilbo, but I ain't got no money. So in my mind, I said, okay, so how can I start filling in the hole? So 2-3 things that I know. Everybody can get a 700 credit score. Everybody can get an LLC. With those 2 things, you can get access to upwards of $250,000 interest-free money to do whatever you need to do in your business. And I always say, don't borrow any money that you don't have a plan for. Right? But get you a mentor, get somebody who understands what's really going on. But now you have the capital, and then now you can pursue the opportunity. So that's what I think everybody should be looking that way.
That's right. And number 3, Mr. Bilbo.
Number three, learn how to invest. Like really learn how to invest because 9 to 5 is not going to be a thing for too long, right? So if you're not having money on the street working for you, like you're going to run out of time.
A recent poll by the website MarketWatch found that 65% of those surveyed said personal finances are their biggest source of stress. Knowing how to budget and save money are skills that can help, but not everyone is taught how to manage their money. Only 25 states require high school students to take a personal finance class in order to graduate. And the schools with predominantly black and brown students are less likely to offer those courses. Laura Barone Lopez reports on how younger generations are working to improve their financial literacy and help close the wealth gap. It's part of our ongoing coverage of Race Matters.
In the U.S., the racial wealth gap is stark. According to the Brookings Institute, the median wealth for a white household is $188,200, nearly 8 times more than the average black household, which is just over $24,000. And experts predict that without improved financial literacy, that gap will only grow. We spoke with Black Americans about the obstacles they faced on their journey to financial success.
My name is Charles Winfrey. I'm a freshman business finance major here at Morehouse College.
My name is Capricia Sampson. I'm from Paterson, New Jersey. I'm 27 years old, and I started my career as a business value consultant in tech.
My name is Alyssa Cabezas. I am originally from Vicksburg, Mississippi. I am 23 years old, and I currently work at JP Morgan doing commercial banking.
I grew up in a 2-parent household with 4 siblings and was introduced to money in a way where my parents really wanted to instill the importance of financial literacy and also just education and hard work. So my dad, at some point, he was like, you need to learn the value of $1. And with that, he would give me an allowance for doing chores around the house every 2 weeks.
My family comes from finance, so I was really had that exposure early on to a lot of money, finance, business talks.
I am a first-generation college student. I'm also a first-generation high school graduate. And when I stepped into Spelman, everybody was like so financially literate. Girls were talking about how like, oh, their parents had trust funds set up for them and that's how they pay for school. And I'm like, I was working for $725 at 18. So being in the environment, that's what really exposed me to wanting to know more about financial literacy.
I think the challenges of being able to grow wealth as a Black person in America is really the disproportion of wealth. As you know, for every dollar a Black person makes, it's not in comparison to what white people make in this country.
One of the things that we need to work on in our community is like just being more intentional and methodical about how you use your money. But in order for that to happen, we also have to be in a position where we aren't just trying to survive and like just make it day to day.
What do we see growing up on TV? We see Black athletes. In our pop culture, what's cool, we see Black rappers. We don't see Black entrepreneurs. That's the psychological shift that has to happen.
Once you like help our generation understand financial literacy, then they'll be able to do that for their generation. And it'll really like revolutionize the trajectory of what it means to be like a Black person with money.
What I'm seeing now is that we're in this financial revolution where people actually are being excited and taking ownership of understanding how to maximize their income and also what it looks like to grow and to have ownership, which are things that weren't necessarily our story in history.
Joining me now to talk about the importance of financial literacy is Robert Smith, philanthropist and CEO of the private equity firm Vista Equity Partners.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
What do you make of the current state of financial literacy in the Black community?
There are a number of challenges. Some of them are systemic, and some of them are personal. The systemic ones are access to capital, access to enablement. And then, on the personal side is, financial literacy and understanding how, utilization of the capital constructs here in the U.S. can enable an improvement of their condition in their lives. And we've just found that those two areas are areas that require some focus and, frankly, some resources and capability to enable the community to actually continue to excel and to accelerate further to make up the gap in this wealth gap that we've seen for now decades.
Why is there such a low level of financial literacy in the Black community, and what are the factors contributing to it?
It's knowledge and information. For so long, there was just lack of access to information. I am the first generation to go to desegregated schools, and where you are now enabled to participate and hear information about everything from, educational systems to investing to, how do you actually improve your condition by buying houses, borrowing money, all those sorts of things. My parents' generation was really the first generation that had access to pension plans in the African American community, and understanding the importance of being able to work and retire, and in some cases use that ability to enable your children to now go to school, to borrow money against a house so that they can get educated and then move that next generation forward.
Student loan debt, as you know, is a significant barrier to financial success for many Americans. In 2019, you paid off student loans for an entire graduating class at Morehouse College, the historically Black university. Why did you decide to do that?
They had already bet on themselves, which is very important, from my perspective. They were at the point of graduation, they had taken out the student loans. And I really started to evaluate, if I were going to do something to help these students, what's the best thing? Sure, you can write a scholarship to the school, but I wanted to actually reward people who had already done the work, had already bet on themselves. And so that's why I did it in that fashion. About 60% of the wealth generated in African American communities goes towards servicing student loan debt. And I just thought that was just unconscionable in many respects. Look, it's important that these children get educated. It's important that we give them the opportunities to improve their condition in life. But I think it's also important they have an ability to create their own personal wealth and wealth for their families.
There are other initiatives supported by corporations that address these kinds of financial inequities, and you've backed a number of them. How can corporate America help in closing the racial wealth gap, and does it actually want to?
One of the things that I did coming out of the pandemic and the murder of George Floyd was form the Southern Communities Initiative, which was a consortium of companies to address some of these, these issues, specifically for communities of color in the South, where almost 50% of Black Americans live. And we've identified, in essence, 6 communities: as Atlanta, Birmingham, Charlotte, Houston, Memphis, and New Orleans. And what we're looking to do in our offering, corporate and philanthropic organizations are measured and vetted shovel-ready ways for them to help fulfill not only their pledges, but some of the racial wealth gaps and opportunity gaps that exist. Many of them are looking for ways to do it and looking for ways that are reliable. We've built out what we'll call the infrastructure so that you can now drive, if you want to drive capital to improve the condition in the banking infrastructure or the healthcare infrastructure or the things for food disparity issues. So that's been one of the most important parts of this, is actually vetting and pulling together the systems and the infrastructure and the partnerships so that people have reliable places to put their capital.
If you had 2 pieces of advice for people to get on the road to financial literacy, what would it be?
First, get up to speed and understand what is financial literacy for your family. In some cases, it might be gaining some independence through some investments for your retirement. In this case, it might be, buying a house, investing in stocks, investing in bonds, and really understanding how to do that. And the second, which enables you to do the first, frankly, is, I think you've got to go call on your Congress people to get them to ensure that your community and your businesses all have access to broadband and the internet. I mean, that is now the purveyor of information and insights. And we've just found too many communities of color actually don't have access to that level of service that enables you to, teach, educate, and train. And so those are the 2 things that I would point to as important for, depending upon how far away you are from getting on that road to financial literacy, to really embark upon.
Philanthropist and entrepreneur Robert Smith, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Laura.
So as a parent, what would you say to us if we have little ones or teenagers or young adults trying to figure this whole money thing out in the next coming 5 to 10 years?
I mean, I think make it a family thing. Mm-hmm. Like, finance is a family thing. Mm-hmm. And being that it is Women's Month, we're celebrating women. The women is the backbone of the society, period. So having a properly educated woman in finance, I think that only makes her stronger. Like I look at my wife, you know, and that's why we were talking about earlier. Like when you have couples that's together. So say that the husband is used to a lot of money and the wife might not be, or vice versa. Either way, you guys are not equally yoked financially. So I think that's important. So when you talk about the children, we got to start them young. Just like we do homework, we need to say, hey, how do you balance your budget? What is your credit utilization? What is credit? How do you utilize credit? Like all of these different things, because I mean, the truth is, no, we were not given this information growing up. We can all agree to that now. But in a time where we have a phone that's in our hand that can take us to the moon, is there really any excuses anymore? So I think it's very important, and I love to see it. Like I love to see it. Like I love to see women in the forefront, because I think, you know, men, we have a certain way of doing things. Like it's a logical. We going through the wall. That's how we do it. You know, women have ability to not only handle the business that needs to be handled, but also do it in a way that it's creative, it's vibrant, you know, and probably appeals to more people. Because I know sometimes my delivery might not appeal to some people. It's just like, hey, this is what we need to be doing. But some, you know, a woman can come in there and still deliver the same information, but make it more palatable for people. So I think that's an important skill for women to understand, that they can step into this role. I love to see, like in the blockchain, there's not many. Like my mentor, Michelle Lilly, she's probably one of the few black women in cryptocurrency. First woman to have a master's degree in blockchain technology. Black at that. You know, so that's a huge accomplishment. And I know she's inspired to inspire other women to do the same. And I say the same thing. I've been her cheerleader for a while because I see the brilliance. Absolutely. You know, and I think more women have that. They have that inside of them, but they have to feel that they can be comfortable in this space.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Also, moving on to the younger generation, maybe the millennials, what advice would you have for them? Some insights.
I mean, same thing. It's like now you got to realize at this particular point in your life, you still have, like they say, you have time to mess it up. You know what I'm saying? So go ahead and get into it. But I always say, man, like it's really not a point of messing it up, because you got to learn.
Just learn. Lessons learned.
That's it. You got to learn, and if you don't plan to quit no time soon, then you'll get to the end where you're trying to go. But education. We've been taught that our education from the school standpoint is what we needed.
The standard, right?
Yeah, but I'll be one to tell you that I was an average student. I could do it with I didn't have to try hard. But the things that I've learned about money and the things that I've learned about life and how to structure things, that's way more valuable.
It is.
It's way more valuable. So we have to understand, yeah, they need some of this stuff up here as well, but they for sure need this, because when you wake up in the morning and turn on the lights, it costs to do it. So we got to make sure that we're putting ourselves in a position to not rob Peter to pay Paul and all these different things that we grow up doing. It's not hard to get financially free. But it's just like a doctor.
It's a plan.
It's a plan. A doctor can't be a doctor until you go to medical school. So you can't be wealthy until you go to wealth school.
You have to put the work in.
That's it. Yeah.
Mr. Bilbo, also, what you're doing, can you share with us some of the things that you're doing, just in case the audience is interested in participating in your classes or ebooks or anything?
Absolutely. So me, at this point in my life, I probably had 2 life works at this point. Okay. I've been in real estate for 21 years, and I've been in blockchain technology for the last 7. Okay. So I've had a good stint in both. So for me right now, it's understanding the asset is an asset, right? If you look at what's happening in America right now, they're moving gold onto they're going to revalue the gold, so we have assets that we can draw from. They're going to move XRP to the balance sheet, so we have assets. We moving Bitcoin and other things that are going to XRP. So that's the crypto tip of the day. XRP is our new SWIFT system. So if you've ever sent money across the world, that's what it is, right? So it was a study that came out, analysis of it, right? So XRP helps banks move money globally, cross-border, right? So right now, let's talk about the foreign exchange market. $7 trillion a day. That's exchanged on the foreign exchange market, right? It's about $150 billion in fees per day, right? If they switched over to being on the XRP blockchain, $1,500 a day to move the same money. So you're talking about trillions of dollars in savings by using this. And this is a technology right now. Think about it. It's always about value. But if I can save you trillions of dollars of money every year, what is my value? What is my worth? And you're talking about an asset that's traded for $2.50 right now. So we have to be able to see the tea leaves. If this type of money is transacting on this particular technology, I need to own that technology. So that's what I do in my classes. I get you to understand why the time is now, why we need to be paying attention to it. Like I said, I understand the old programming of old and all that, but with this phone and YouTube and all of these free resources that we have, there's no reason not to take advantage of it. And my master class as well. And you got consultants, but if it ain't me, like I always say, get somebody that can point you in the right direction, because again, all this fear that you're seeing that because it's a shakeup that's happening. Okay. And this is when the money is made. I appreciate you sharing. Yeah, this is when the money is made. When everything is calm and everybody cool and it's peacetime, you ain't really making no money. But when it's turmoil and it's friction, that's when the money is made. So we got to turn our mind and say, okay, game on now. It's on.
And get a piece of it, because we
get
can.
a piece.
We can.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Where can we find your masterclass, Mr. Bilbo?
So you can go to mydigitalmasterclass.com. You can find me on LinkedIn at Terrell Bilbo, Facebook, on Instagram I'm Crypto Bilbo 1, and just reach out.
Mother and daughter. This is a duet. One could not manage without the other. We are most definitely alike. Our bodies are the same as much as our pain. Just like a child, we grew up a daughter and then became a mother. A mother's love for her daughter is like a tree. It never stops growing. Don't let my mistakes take away the taste of my love. The contract of our love, may it be binding. Don't be impressed by the height of my accomplishments, because it will never pay taxes on my undying love. The love that I hold for you, take it and let that be your mentor. God has crowned us mother and daughter. Mother and daughter. God bless you. Thank you.
Today's program has been brought to you by Tarsha Gary, your Texas realtor, providing trust and value to every real estate transaction. Brought to you by Mortgage Dynamics, financing your dream investment. Brought to you by Terrell Bilbo, providing your digital masterclass. Brought to you by Bob Tolley Productions.